boxing's Brown Bomber was a champion's champion. Known as the Brown Bomber for his punch and string of knockout victories.
Maybe he can go on. Yes, he's going to continue.
A great inspiration in so many ways to so many people.
Imagine being 24 years old and having the President of the United States pull you aside to tell you that the fate of the free world rests on your shoulders. It sounds like a movie script, but for Joe Louis in 1938, it was a terrifying reality. While the world was trembling at the feet of Adolf Hitler, America was looking for a savior. They didn't find him in a politician or a general. They found him in a man who wasn't even allowed to sit in the front of a bus in his own hometown.
Joe Louis was an incredible fighter. He was much smarter than anybody. I think Ali was a better fighter. I think he would have beat Joe Louis, but I just think Joe Louis was the best. Joe Louis he was just so pragmatic and just so delivering. He's a master. He had a great teacher. Joe Louis was an incredible fighter and individual.
Joe wasn't born a killer. He was a quiet kid from Alabama whose mother wanted him to be a musician. She paid for violin lessons, but Joe had a different rhythm in mind.
He was around at a time when this country didn't treat black people properly. Yeah.
There are about 9 million Negroes in our southern states, and the majority of them live on farms.
People don't realize how many times he fought as an amateur. He fought over 50 times, won a Gold Glove, and found that area of competence that all kids are looking for.
He entered a boxing world that hated him.
Only courage keeping him up. Another good right hand by Lewis, and another! And down goes Alator.
He was one of the most balanced fighters I ever saw, Ken. Always in position with his footwork.
There's that left hook.
Joe Louis was the best.
Alator draped on the rope. He's being counted out.
He was just so pragmatic and just so delivering. He gets turned, he just does it like he's breathing. He's a master.
Goes on to win another in his march to the World's Heavyweight Championship.
To survive, his team gave him the 7 commandments, rules to make him the perfect black champion. Never gloat, never be seen with white women, and never ever show emotion.
He was the only black man that was portrayed in newspaper articles other than crimes.
Joe Louis was respected by everyone in the world. I mean, he was loved.
Louis fought everyone who was out there. It's not Louis's fault that he was so much better than they were.
Once he won the title from Jim Braddock in 1937, Joe became the most active champion in history.
Braddock's manager basically made Louis agree to give him a percentage of his purses for the rest of his career to get the fight.
What?
Yeah, but there was an understanding that, you're not getting a fight otherwise.
And now, here in Chicago, the heavyweight boxing title is at stake. Will Joe Louis walk out of the ring as heavyweight champion of the world? We'll soon know.
There were history of black families, poor black families that would get hope from just saying, hey, Louis did it. I don't want to hear that you can't do this. Joe Louis did it.
A challenger from Detroit, Joe Louis.
And so he was that important. That's the only point I'm making here. He was that freaking important that what they fought, what they did, what they overcame, where they came from. When you talk about all the things that we're here to talk about character, about talent, about perseverance, about resiliency, about caring about more than yourself, about strength. When you talk about all those things that we try to say that we care about, he was all that. He was all of that.
They called it the Bum of the Month Club, but some of those bums nearly killed the legend. In 1939, Tony Two-Ton Galento, a beer-drinking brawler, actually knocked Joe to the canvas. Joe got up and dismantled him, but the real test came in 1941 against the lightning-fast Billy Conn. For 12 rounds, Conn outboxed Joe, making the champ look old. With 2 minutes left in the fight, he was losing. Joe landed a right hand that sounded like a gunshot. That was the genius of Louis. You could beat him for 11 rounds, 2 minutes and 59 seconds, but you had to be perfect every single second. He only had to be perfect once. Everything Joe had done led back to one man, Max Schmeling. In their first fight, Schmeling had knocked Joe out, and the Nazis used it as proof of their superiority.
Everybody recognized what Schmeling represented.
The stage is set for their historic rematch.
On the verge of World War II, with Hitler, a madman, trying to create a master race, take over the world. I mean, the whole world's watching. You talk about pressure. That's why Lewis is the greatest.
June 22nd, 1938, Yankee Stadium.
If he didn't win this world title fight against Max Schmeling, he was ruined.
And it's in Yankee Stadium outdoors. I mean, you talk about a setting, a stage.
70,000 people, millions listening on the radio. Joe didn't just want to win, he wanted to erase Schmeling from existence.
The whole freaking world's watching. The President of the United States calls up Lewis and says, you got to witness for the good guys. I mean, you talk about pressure.
The famous Detroit Brown Bomber, world's heavyweight champion, Joe Louis.
U.S. against Germany, black guy against a white guy. You couldn't draw more divisive lines at those times.
That he's got to save basically the United States and the world from scourge and disease of the Nazi party.
Joe Louis all over Max Schmeling here in round one.
It lasted 2 minutes and 4 seconds. Schmeling was hit so hard his vertebrae were damaged.
Crushing right explodes off Schmeling's jaw. Joe steps back.
And Schmeling was in fear right from the beginning. He realized that this is something else, a different cut of cattle.
How does he respond to it? He destroys him, he annihilates him. He knocks him out in one round.
A left up to the jaw, and Schmeling is down. The count is
That to me is one of the best stories of a heavyweight fight.
I think that's the greatest single event in the history of the world.
It doesn't look like Schmeling's gonna make it. It's all over. Joe Louis electrifies the boxing world with his magnificent first-round devastating knockout over
the winner and still champion, Joe Louis.
Joe gave his prime years to the U.S. Army and donated his fight purses to the war effort.
I've only done what any red-blood American would do.
During the war years, Joe Louis fought some 96 fights all over the world. It was said that some 5 million servicemen had a chance to see the champion box.
Lewis's ring career was never interrupted, not even for World War II, when he staged exhibitions under the claim, "I'm not fighting for nothing, I'm fighting for my country."
Here we are in Madison Square Garden for the Joe Louis Abe Simon Heavyweight Championship bout. Private Joe Louis Barrow reports for duty. Duty in this case means that he is defending his $1 million World's Heavyweight Championship and donating his entire purse to the Army Emergency Relief. Joe's mad now, and he shows it. Fighting mad. He's throwing dynamite.
And Joe always had a heart of gold. During that time, it was not on just one occasion that when a loved one died, Joe would pick up the funeral expenses for a fellow serviceman.
Here it comes now.
Wow.
Joe Louis is an incredible fighter and individual.
A great soldier, a great champion, and a great man.
There's Joe Louis, once again, his hand raised in triumph.
Never before and probably never again has a champion donated his entire purse, in this instance around $70,000, in the bright and brave cause of patriotism.
But the IRS didn't care about patriotism. They chased him for taxes on money he had donated.
I'm working for nothing, I'm working for my country, and I think that's about the greatest piece of work that anybody can do.
the heavyweight king, Joe Louis.
Joe Louis was an authentic hero as opposed to a surplus hero.
In all, Louis spent 17 years in the ring, 12 reigning as heavyweight champion.
Now it's Joe Louis, the brown bomber at his dynamite best.
Champion Joe Louis and his challenger Jersey Joe Walcott. And from Hollywood, Jack Benny and Bob Hope, Eddie Cantor, Joan Blondell, and producer Mike Todd.
Now, in slow motion, here is the champion in all his fighting fury.
Real trouble though, and the fight is over. In Joe Louis' 25th title defense, he looks like the great champion of old.
Is the retirement of Joe Louis, for 11 years heavyweight champion of the world. He has defended the championship 25 times since winning it from Jimmy Braddock in 1937.
It started when he donated 2 purses, one to the Navy and the Army Relief Fund, and they wrote the checks to Joe Louis. And he immediately signed the checks to the Navy and the Army Relief Fund. But because they were made payable to Joe Louis, they wanted him to pay taxes on it. Could the IRS have made an exception? Yes. Could they have interpreted it differently? Yes.
The man who saved the soul of America ended up broke, working as a greeter in Las Vegas just to survive.
As a boy, you worship one particular boxing hero who later in life, you gotta know, who sadly cannot be here because, as you know, he recently underwent massive heart surgery, which has affected his powers of speech. But such is his high regard for you that here, in his home in Las Vegas, all the bravery that went into winning of those trophies went into this brief greeting to you.
Hello, Muhammad. You and the little boy you just watched me on television.
Today, America lost one of the finest boxers of all times. Joe Louis died of heart failure today in Las Vegas. He was 66 years old.
An emotional service in memory of the former heavyweight boxing champion, Joe Louis, who died of a heart attack last Sunday.
When he died in 1981, his old rival, Max Schmeling, helped pay for the funeral. They were no longer enemies. They were 2 men who had been used by their countries and found peace in each other.
Former heavyweight champions Jersey Joe Walcott, Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali all came to Arlington Cemetery yesterday to pay their last respects to Joe Louis, who may have been the greatest heavyweight of them all. He was buried to the words of the New Testament, "I have fought the good fight."
Joe Louis was the brown bomber, but more than that, he was the first man to prove that the American dream could have a black face. He did more than his best. He changed the world.
Knocked out Joe Louis in their first encounter.
Yeah.
And then when Joe Louis destroyed Schmeling in the rematch, it was like a giant victory for America.
Wow. Schmeling salts.
Talk about a setting, a stage. Joe Louis had World War II on the horizon. President of the United States called him up, and you had Nazi Germany, you had a guy named Hitler, and they come and they're saying, we will show the world that we're superior. And now you had the biggest sport and the champion of that sport, the heavyweight champ, Joe Louis, and he's fighting the German fighter, Schmeling, the second time, now for the title. So Louis has to carry all this stuff. And he gets in that ring and he annihilates with all this pressure. He goes in there and he annihilates the guy in 1 round. I think that's the greatest single event in the history of the world.
Every boy has an idol, and honestly, I'm so proud to say that Joe was my idol, and still is. It seems as though it was only yesterday, man, and we were back in Detroit down at Booster Center, and I was watching you go through the paces there. Boy, was I fascinated. He can always punch, Ralph.
Yeah, I heard that.
Then, I'm telling you, I wanted to be so like this guy. But everything I learned about boxing, all of the good clean habits and training hard and clean living, I honestly learned from Joe. And I say, there's another thing. You know, if it hadn't been for you, I just might not have been a fighter.
Nice fighting.
You're the greatest.
So all the press is there, and Joe is champion world. Not yet. Not yet. What do you mean not yet? Just won the title. Not yet. Not till I beat that man. He didn't even have to say his name. Not till I beat that man. That's how much pride he had. And listen, he's the real deal. Because in his mind, how can I be champion if a guy knocked me out?
Right.
So when that fight took place, I mean, you talk about a setting, a stage. You know, nowadays people say, oh, I'm on the stage, there's a lot of pressure, you know. Hey, I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it, but a lot of pressure, you know. A lot of people looking, a lot of people, you know, depending on, a lot of stuff going on, you know, and I, you know, maybe I got a headache. But Joe Louis had World War II on the horizon.
Was Joe Louis the greatest heavyweight of all time, or does that title belong to Ali? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe to Celebrate Men for more from the golden era. We'll see you in the next one.